TCL's QM8 series has earned a reputation for brute force brightness and solid value. The 2025 QM8K doubles down on that formula. The 65-inch model we tested packs 1680 dimming zones and still supports 4K at 144Hz for high-end gaming PCs. The big question is whether those numbers turn into a truly better picture when compared to last year's TCL QM851G or even this year's Hisense U8QG. Hi, I'm Alex from ratings.com. You've been asking for it, and it's finally here. After weeks of testing and reviewing the QM8K, I'll tell you exactly where TCL's latest shines, and ooh boy does it shine. Before diving into performance, a quick note about variants. We reviewed the 65-inch QM8K, and our results are also valid for the 75, 85, and 98-inch models. In Europe, the TV is sold as the TCL C8K, but as there are significant differences in the software and tuning of the two products, our review isn't valid for that model. Alright, enough of that. How does this TV perform? The TCL QM8 series is known for its incredibly high brightness levels, and this year's model is no different. In movie mode with local dimming set to high, the 10% HDR test window hits 3,605 nits. That's really bright. Whether you're looking at test slides or real content, highlights truly pop on the QM8K. And if you're a gamer, good news, the TV is just as bright in game mode. The real surprise here, however, is that the TV is actually dimmer than its predecessor, the QM851G. While the QM8K is brighter in peak 2% test slides and a bit brighter in 10% slides, the older set is way brighter in a 25% and 50% slide, as well as being more capable at sustaining these numbers. The kicker? How much brighter the QM851G is in real scenes. Look at those numbers. What's happening? Well, TCL shifted its focus this year. Now, instead of going for the brightest panel possible, they're toning it down a little, aiming for more accurate HDR brightness. And it works. The QM8K is significantly more accurate than the QM851G. In fact, the QM8K is even more accurate than our score suggests. Most of its inaccuracies are at the top end of the curve, near the panel's maximum brightness. But since no content reaches such high brightness levels, the QM8K ends up being quite accurate in most scenes. This is a very welcome change, as the TV is otherwise still bright enough to impress anyone. Okay, let's tackle some of the other image processing features, where the QM8K is solid, but not exceptional across the board. Its best trait is its low quality content smoothing. Yes, it still loses some sharp details when cleaning out macro blocking in low bitrate content, but in turn, there's almost none of it left in the feed, which is impressive. Less impressive, but still quite competent, is the TV's upscaling. It upscales any low resolution feed properly, and it looks clean, but fine details are hard to make out. As for gradients, it's also decent, but there's noticeable banding in dark grays and blues, and in brighter greens. Overall, the TV's image processing won't really impress, but it also won't turn you off either. It does its job, and sometimes that's all you need. Luckily, the QM8K's black levels are fantastic. Blooming is kept to a minimum, and so are its local zone transitions. This is some of the best local dimming you'll get on any LED TV. Plus, the TV's black uniformity is almost perfect. There's some cloudiness on the screen when local dimming is turned off, but are you really going to turn off local dimming on this TV? Didn't think so. If you like to watch a lot of SDR content, you're in for a treat, as this TV is extremely bright in SDR, making it a strong pick if you like to watch super bright SDR content, or if you watch a ton of TV in very bright rooms. It does struggle a bit with direct reflections, so try to avoid placing a ton of lights or windows directly opposite the screen. It's pretty good when dealing with ambient sources of light, however. Overall, daylight performance is stellar on the QM8K. Moving on, this TV is both very bright and has tremendous black levels. You know what that means, right? It means it's going to excel in HDR color volume, as it's capable of displaying both very bright and very dark and saturated colors. Its colors are also great in SDR, although, as always, if you stick to the common Rec. 709 color space, you're not likely to really notice anything out of the ordinary. But if you watch the rare DCI P3 or BT 2020 content, or if you like to force your TV into a wider color gamut, then the TV's colors really pop. They're a bit more washed out in later scenes, but nothing you'll really notice. The accuracy of the TV's colors in HDR is okay before any calibration. Nothing to write home about, but still better than last year's QM851G. Still, that's not saying much, as that TV's HDR accuracy was really subpar. On the QM8K, there are noticeable tone mapping issues across the board, with some significant white balance issues, as well as the TV being too cold out of the box. As always, calibrating the TV will fix these issues, but that does come with some extra cost. The TV fares about the same in its SDR pre-calibration accuracy. Just okay. Its white balance is noticeably off in midtones and brighter shades of gray. Blues are also noticeably underrepresented, so overall the TV is too warm out of the box, and we don't mean to the touch. The QM8K has a new WHVA panel that is designed to combine the strengths of traditional VA and IPS panels with the deep blacks of VA, but the viewing angle of IPS. And guess what? They're onto something. At first glance, the TV's brightness does start to shift at a pretty narrow angle, and its colors soon after that as you further move off center. But the real magic happens after that initial shift. The TV just doesn't wash out nearly as fast afterwards as VA panels typically do, so anyone sitting to the side will get a better viewing experience overall than if they were watching something like, say, the TCL QM7K. It's good stuff. The TV has 2 full bandwidth HDMI 2.1 ports and 2 HDMI 2.0 ports. Its eARC port is on one of its HDMI 2.0 ports, which is nice as you don't lose one of your high-speed ports when you have a connected soundbar. But not as great as you won't get the full benefit of a receiver that supports full HDMI 2.1 pass-through when connected to that eARC port. Sometimes you just can't win. Still, its 2 HDMI 2.1 ports support 4K at 144Hz and 1080p at 288Hz. The TV's input lag is also very fast, except maybe at 60Hz. It's nothing you'll really notice, and esports gamers don't really play at 60Hz anyway, but the TV's input lag is just a bit higher than we'd like. Also, TCL remains the best LED TV manufacturer when it comes to pixel response times. They're routinely faster on their TVs than on most other LED models. If you're serious about your gaming in 2025, and you don't want an OLED for some reason, you should probably be shopping for a TCL. Sure, they're far from OLED-like, but there's little noticeable overshoot or inverse ghosting at any refresh rate. Still, the TV doesn't perform quite as well when transitioning from dark scenes to very bright ones. But for an LED, this is about as good as it gets in TV land. All right, let's dive into some comparisons. First up, the TCL QM7K from this year. You want to save some money with the TCL QM7K? Well, it's priced several hundreds of dollars below the QM8K at the same size, yet it still gives you a very bright panel. That said, you're giving up some pop for sure. The step-down model tops out around 1731 nits on a 10% pattern. That's a fair amount lower than the QM8K's 3605 nits. The lower brightness also means less vibrant colors. Still, the QM7K's contrast is as good as the QM8K with local dimming enabled, but it does have significantly more blooming and more visible lighting zone transitions. So it sure isn't a free lunch. Overall though, if your room is bright but not sun-drenched, and you can live with slightly more haloing, the QM7K keeps a lot of the flagship feel for a lot less money. What if you prefer to shop for TCL's competing brand, Hisense? Well, the Hisense U8QG is sold for a similar price to the QM8K, and is basically just as bright, even a bit brighter in smaller HDR highlights and in SDR content. But the Hisense's high brightness comes at a cost, as its PQ EOTF tracking is abysmal. All content is way too bright on it, so it's not the TV for you if you care about the content creator's intent. The U8QG's contrast is deeper than the QM8K, but in turn, the TCL has a faster local dimming solution with slightly less blooming around highlights and much better black uniformity. Still, the U8QG has excellent processing with cleaner upscaling and less banding than the QM8K, although the latter has a slight edge in low-quality content smoothing. Hey, don't act surprised. You knew this comparison would be close, and it is. The real sledgehammer though is how much better the TCL is for gamers. Lower input lag and far faster pixel transitions at every refresh rate. Ultimately, the TCL is the slightly better TV, but it's a close contest. Lastly, what if you want to save some cash on an older model? Last year's model is discounted at many retailers, and soon it will be out of stock. But it's a very solid alternative to the QM8K. As we said earlier in this review, the older set is actually the brighter TV of the two, but that does come at the cost of far worse HDR brightness accuracy. The QM8's contrast isn't quite as good, but its local dimming solution is just as quick. And if you're a PC gamer who likes to game at 4K at 144Hz, strongly consider the QM8, as its pixel transitions are noticeably faster at 144Hz than the QM8K. For console gamers, however, the two TVs are basically on par, although the QM8K is a tad faster at 120Hz, but you're not likely to notice it in practice. Ultimately, if you're someone who doesn't care about brightness accuracy, or you're looking to save some money, the QM851G is a great alternative to the otherwise slightly more refined QM8K. The TCL QM8K does exactly what a flagship mini LED should: crush brighter scenes, hold vibrant color, and push gaming specs that only a handful of premium LED sets match, many of which are also TCL models. It has a fast local dimming solution with minimal blooming and tremendous black uniformity, and solid image processing. It's not perfect, as purists will want to calibrate its colors, but overall, this is a tremendous LED TV. Movie buffs who insist on perfect pixel level blacks, or cinephiles sensitive to slight tone mapping deviations, may still gravitate to OLED. Everyone else, especially sports fans and competitive gamers in bright rooms, might find the QM8K the most exciting TV of 2025. That is our full review of TCL's dazzling QM8K. What do you think? Are you sad that the TV isn't quite as vibrant as last year's QM8, or are you happier with a more balanced offering? Let us know in the comments down below, and check out our website for the complete measurement tables and calibration notes. Until next time, I'm Alex from RTINGS.com, where we help you find the best product for your needs. Bye!